main character, the story counters the rest of the world. And I'm like, that's kind of like you don't do that.
What's up, guys? How did he know? It's your boy Hypey and your boy.
Innovate. What's up, guys?
Whoa! It's your boys Idle Screens podcast. It's time for another podcast. Today we're going to be talking about something that Innovate thought we should talk about. I was wearing a One Piece shirt. Let's talk about anime. Specifically, One Piece. Now,
Big fan.
I am a huge fan, by the way. Don't
My
don't
bad. 8 out of 10, by the way, for One Piece for me.
wait, really? That's high? Okay,
Yes.
I thought it was lower for you. That's crazy.
8 out of 10 because I think there's good storytelling in it, but I wouldn't recommend it to people, if I'm honest.
That's 8 out of 10, but you're not recommending it to people. That's kind of like
Uh, I think it's good. Well,
okay. I mean,
if you have the option of recommending someone a 9 out of 10 show or an
mm,
8 out of 10, you'd recommend them the 9 out of 10. And there's a lot of anime out there that I've given 9 out of 10 where I would recommend them that instead of saying, "Hey, go watch the 8 out of 10 show."
that that's actually a funny thought because sometimes I recommend like a 5, just because I think
Really?
it. Because sometimes I think like that person would
You
like
want to
it.
go hate something,
I
basically?
I'm like, dude, you need. Oh, hate watching? No, that's like a 3 or less. I
That
made people
Yeah,
watch
that's
3
what
or
I meant.
less.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
But
So
no, no,
for
no.
5 out of 10 for you, it's not hate watching. It's what?
I was like, it's okay. It's niche, maybe is the word I'm looking for. It's niche. Like someone might enjoy it. Not me though. Not me though.
So it's okay. Is 5 out of 10 for you an okay score?
5 out of 10 is 5 out of 10. It was okay. A
But like
50.
the thing is that let's say IGN went ahead and said, "Hey, the Avengers Endgame movie was a 5 out of 10." That I would not say to people, "Hey, this was an okay movie." They would say this is a bad movie. I think we have, as a society, now hated anything below a 7 out of 10,
See,
and that's why I'm saying a 8 out of 10 for my brain is good, and then a 7 out of 10 is okay, and then anything that I would put under that is just not worth watching.
then what's the point of all the other numbers? Like if we're only gonna say 7
Look,
above
I
top 10.
agree with you. There's a reason Netflix removed the star system and they just said double thumbs up, or thumbs down. There's a reason they did that because at
Five.
the end of the day, people were watching the hell out of the Adam Sandler movies,
Oh,
but
that's
everybody wanted to give it like a 1 star review. And they said that that was their biggest argument in why they removed the star system because people kept hating these movies, but they kept binging them, but they didn't want people to be defined by, oh, it's a 1 star movie, but then the watch time for that movie is very high.
Hubby Halloween was a masterpiece, all right? Put some respect on Adam Sandler's name. Look, the thing is, here's the thing. The five
Okay.
star system is catastrophic on its own. The
Mhm.
1 through 10 though is something else. 1 through 10 is something people constantly make up new guidelines. The 5 star system, we know how it works, especially if you've done like DoorDash, Uber, and such. If you don't put
Okay.
a 5, that person deserves to get fired. That's literally how the rating goes. That I'm not even joking. That's how the rating goes. You could be like, I gave
Yeah.
them a 4 because you know what? They did great. But I don't know, maybe it could have been better. You were essentially saying they had to be fired. Not you specifically because you put a 4. I know your intentions were pure, but
Yeah.
that is not how it works in the system. The
Yeah.
system will punish
It's
the
a thumbs
person.
up or a thumbs down. That's what it
Yeah,
is. A
yeah.
5 is a thumbs up, a 4 and under is a thumbs down.
A 1 out of 10 though, I don't know. I don't know.
Literally
Anyways,
started it and dropped it within 60 seconds of watching. I think that would be my 1 out of 10.
like, but anyways, the topic about no. Well, first of all, we've gone through
This is
so
good. This
many.
is good. This is good.
We've gone through so many branches, but hold on. I want to go back to. I think it's fine to recommend anywhere in the 1 through 10 scale. But you need to get some context.
Okay.
When if I'm recommending a 5, which I have, right? I'm sorry, you probably don't want to hear this from me. You're probably upset. But the thing is, the thing is, if I think oh, this is right up their alley. Let's say specifically, right? There's a power up
Theme.
system. I'm like, dude, my friend loves power up systems. And there's
Okay.
gambling, and I'm like, oh my god, he loves gambling, right? And then there's like the main protagonist is like, I don't know, British. Oh my god, my friend loves British people. I'm gonna recommend that show to him, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, dude, you know how you've always told me you've loved British gambling anime with power up systems? And he's
Uh-huh.
like, no, I don't think I've ever told you that. And you're like, well, do I have the show for you? And then they're like, wow, 8 out of 10 for them. And then I'm like, damn it,
Oh
I failed
man,
them, low key. But
that's hilarious.
going back to it, One Piece I've recommended a lot of people. Honestly, that's kind of how like I relive the show. Or like my rewatch is making someone else watch it and then be like, I'll watch it with you. And then depending
You
where they
have
are.
rewatched One Piece multiple times.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen Ace Blue Saga like at least 10 times with 10 different people now.
What?
Yeah, the number still
That's
goes.
insane. What episode hooked you on One Piece? Or what episode made you say this is amazing?
Funny enough, it was the if I had to say one episode, I would probably say it's in Drum Drum Island where Chopper is or like we're seeing Chopper's backstory, and
Huh.
the doctor, he when he's passing, he says a man's dream doesn't go when he dies. It's like when he's forgotten. I forget how the quote goes, but a man's dream doesn't die when they're dead. It's when they're forgotten, and that concept has
Yeah.
stuck hard to me. Like anytime I watch the show, that one episode, it does a lot going into the future of One Piece because that's essentially what it is. Luffy,
Mhm.
and especially in the East Blue, everyone constantly looks at Luffy and they're like, dude. This guy's like Roger. His idea and his mindset is exactly like
Yeah.
Roger. And constantly, like, you'll see throughout the series that, like, it's the concept of fighting for a dream, whether it can be achieved or not, but the push and the fact that you have the dream to keep going is so strong that it creates like this whole dynamic, right?
Mhm.
I
So I will agree to say that when with that, right, there's a good writing structure for One Piece. For reference, I did not like Black Clover. I hated it. I actually
mm,
stopped watching it. What I love about One Piece that Black Clover is horrible at is that there's no plot holes.
mm,
And it's there is, right? But the level of plot holes through in a 1,000 episode show is so minuscule that it doesn't really bother you when you do notice it, right? For example, Red Hair Shanks losing an arm to a random monster. Why would that happen? But you kind of just ignore it. You're like, I guess, like, sure, bro,
yeah, yeah,
right? And then he's like, oh yeah, he's an emperor, and you're like, what the? Like that doesn't. Okay, sure.
yeah.
You kind of like just like say like, I guess. That would be like the only big plot hole to me. But the rest of the story of One Piece, I think it's very well done because they avoid backstories that they know they have to readjust other stories with.
Mm,
So I think that's why they introduce a character, but they don't always introduce their backstories on main characters. On side characters, hey, this is a side character because we're gonna give you the backstory right now, which is really funny if you really think about it. The like characters that you've given the full backstory of are side characters, and the characters that you're not given a backstory for are gonna become a main character, which is really funny to think about.
dude, like sometimes you see characters that just have this crazy backstory, and then you remember Zoro's backstory was an episode, like a 10
Yeah,
minutes of an episode,
yeah,
and then you see just the most like well thought out story and like everything
yeah.
crazy, like Senior Pink, like a lot of people will mention that character. Even something as small as Baby Five scene, like still very emotional attachment. Um, but yeah, it's interesting because then you have a character like Sanji, right? Where we have his
Yeah.
backstory and we know it, and it was pretty short. But then you go to Whole Cake Island, and you're like, whoa, whoa, whoa! There's more to meets the eye.
Yeah, because the whole story wasn't necessarily given to you. Why is this kid right there with the pirates? And that wasn't told. It wasn't a plot hole. It was just information that hadn't been given to you. Yeah. This is where I'm gonna be a hater for Black Clover. I hate I hate how much Black Clover just throws shit in there like after it's already been introduced, by the way. Like they're just telling you new shit and you're just like, but that doesn't make sense. I wish I could remember. I watched the show like 2 or 3 years ago, and I just remember saying, like, this is kind of stupid.
Did
Like
you
this is
finish
just
it?
so dumb. Black Clover.
Did you finish it?
No, I couldn't. It
Oh,
was just I was so like frustrated. But another reason that I got frustrated is because the main character of the story counters the rest of the world. And I'm like, that's kind of like you don't do that. Like even Naruto never had that problem where like Naruto's really strong because he was born into that situation, but he's not like countered. Like he doesn't counter the meta, right?
yeah. Like an
But when
example
you
is like
say,
One Punch Man, right?
yeah, like
Like
but
literally,
One
he
Punch Man
he
is
counters
intentional.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 yeah. And then in Black Clover, it's like, hey, here's the main character. His ability is that he doesn't have any mana or whatever, and everybody else's ability matters or affects people with mana. Okay, what are the odds? And then his one weapon counters anything magic. What are the odds? Every other character in the story only uses mana, except this one character, which is the main character of the story. Which I'm just like, bro, like it just every story lead up, right? Just does it. You're like, how are they gonna stop that guy? I wonder how.
yeah.
Now, if you've seen the Black Clover, you can acknowledge, well, he's not the strongest character, and then there's other characters that have to fight for him because he's not the strongest. I get that. I understand that. But his interactions are incredibly dull because of that, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Like, maybe it's a similar aspect. For reference, I haven't watched Black Clover. I only know
Okay.
like a little bit of stuff, like how I think
You
one
should
of the
watch it.
characters like screams a
I'm
lot.
gonna recommend you that one as my 5 out of 10 show. I'm gonna
Okay,
tell you to go
okay.
watch it.
But um, when I think of something like that, I think going back to JoJo's Part 3 with Jotaro, he's literally just punches really fast, right? And the whole time you kind of tell yourself, you're like, well, that's gonna get boring. And then they're like, oh, I'm out of your range, Jotaro. You know what I mean? And you're just
Yeah,
like, oh,
that's different. Because I'm gonna say that the JoJo's writer writes strategy combat, but the Black Clover writer does not. I will say that
okay,
as my argument.
gotcha.
Where the Black Clover is who hits harder, but the JoJo's story from even from very first season, right? A lot of the combat is relevant with strategy. So your ability, you naturally like use it strategically against your opponent, whether it be the enemy or whether it be the hero, kind of thing.
Yeah,
In Black Clover, that doesn't happen.
that's fair. That's
Like,
fair.
and if it does, it's like very minuscule that it's not even like you don't even acknowledge it, kind of thing. Like, oh, they're doing this thing, and then you're like, they're just gonna say this one thing to counter it, and I'm gonna do this one thing to deal with it, and I'm like, very cool, yeah, cool, awesome. Yeah, like there's no the complexity level is very low. I'm gonna say. You know how, for example, the reason people like Hunter x Hunter is because the complexity of skills is insane, right? For
Mm. Oh,
example,
JJK too. A lot of people
yeah,
appreciate that
Jujutsu
for
Kaisen,
yeah.
same thing. The complexity level of characters' abilities and skills is very, very high. I This is my argument. People can hate on me for it, right? My argument is that Black Clover's skill abilities thought process is very low comparatively.
Hmm.
So that's really the gist of it.
Yeah. Uh,
I watched like 70 or 90 episodes of Black Clover, by the way. I didn't just like watch 10 episodes. I watched like 70 or 90 episodes, and I just remember saying like, bro, I can't. Like
what
I'm over it. Like just go to something else.
what made you go that
I-
far?
Because I just kept thinking like maybe it's gonna get more complex. One Piece is a good
Oh,
example of
that's
something
true.
that got more complicated the further the show went out. Because if you really think about it, One Piece started with the idea of like this is a man that is made out of rubber,
Yeah.
and then whereas it now it's like this is a man that is fighting the world government,
Yeah.
right? So complete massive skill. And I think the reason that I enjoy One Piece's story more than Naruto, I also didn't finish Naruto's last season because I thought it was so dumb at the end of it. But there is um Naruto didn't do it as well as One Piece, and I think that's why One Piece is more popular than Naruto. But basically, Naruto basically said, "We are ninjas. Cool, awesome, badass. We're all ninjas, no problem." And then as it's getting to scale up, right? It's like we have to save the world from gods, and it's just like, wait a second. I feel like we leveled up too quickly, or we missed like a step. Like the level to get there just didn't feel jointed as complex as One Piece did.
I,
That's my argument to it.
I can add to that, by the way, because I obviously stopped after watching Naruto. I wasn't interested in the Boruto universe, but that doesn't stop my feed from, occasionally showing some scenes, and I'll watch some, right? I
Mhm.
know some stuff that's happening, but I'm completely clueless, right? I'll never forget. It was like a year ago from today, probably. A scene that was trending. I think it was a filler episode, to be fair,
Yeah.
but it was Sasuke shaking a dinosaur's hand, and I
Yeah.
was like, "What's happening?" And
There's a
like,
dinosaur filler, bro.
and like I said, like I understand, like even if it is filler, I'm like, dude, what is happening over there? You know what I mean? And like that doesn't
Yeah.
even talk about like the actual fights that Boruto's have. I've seen some of the actual fights where you see like
Uh-huh.
some of the characters fight and such, and I'm just like mind blown that everything's happening because I'm so out of touch with it, right? Because I'm so outdated,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
I'm just like, dude.
So why did you stop watching Naruto?
Oh, I mean, the series finished. I just didn't want to watch Boruto. Like I was over it. I was over
I think everybody agrees with that. Well, what do you
it.
think of Naruto? Because I guess I said my negative perspective of it, but what is your perspective on it? Did you enjoy it? 1 through 10? What is your rating on it?
It's
Would you
kind of
recommend it?
it's kind of yeah, I would. I think it's one of those classics where you would talk about it. The problem is, for me, it's probably like a 7. Um,
Damn.
like, but for example, my friend was deciding between One Piece and Naruto,
Okay.
and obviously, I think One Piece is amazing.
Wait, 1 through 10, what is your One Piece
Oh,
rating?
10, easy.
Whoa,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
think it's
easy.
perfect?
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I obviously,
Whoa.
obviously, obviously, there's some faults, right? But I think the cool part is that you could think a lot about it. For example, early on, you brought up how you hate the plot hole of like Shanks is so powerful, but he lost his arm. The way
Yeah,
the
it's
way
just
I see
a
that
plot
scene
hole.
is Luffy constantly couldn't couldn't see the problem with being in Shanks' crew. And no matter what, he'd be like, "But you'd save me, right? But you'd save me." It wasn't until Shanks lost his arm that Luffy was like, "You're right. I need to go. I need to train, and I'll when I'm ready, I'll be there." And that's when Shanks is like, "Not only will you be there, you'll be the Pirate King." Gives him the hat, and that's what I think motivates Luffy in order to get this journey. But he doesn't see that until he sees the actual problem with him joining Shanks' crew at that moment. And so that also because if you think about it, everyone's reactions. You see Mihawk, he's like, "You lost your arm to a sea beast." Whitebeard, he's like, "When I heard that someone took your arm, I had to see who it was. When I saw it was like a sea beast, like I was even more like confused." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the constant quote specifically about that, and also just not to spoil it because it's like manga related, but the
You
missing
have to
arm.
you have to stop at I think episode 800,
Yeah,
and then even though there's over 1,000, I think there's like 1,050. I don't know where they're
yeah.
at right now, but I will ask you not to skip anything over episode
No,
800.
no, no, you're good. You're good. I was just
Okay,
gonna
okay.
say, but like you still hear things about the missing arm.
Yeah,
And I think that's cool, whether it be planned or like callback, right? But the fact
yeah,
that they still like don't let that go, and like a bunch of other things, right? Like specifically, like we see a bunch of characters we see throughout the story,
yeah,
right? But stuff like that, like I think that's what's really beautiful about One Piece is that there's so many connections and there's so many ways to interpret it. Because obviously, someone could hear what I said and just be like, "Oh, Shanks forgot," or like, he slacked, right? Like he was just slacking. But that's a crazy assumption because spoilers, you know? But
You
the
feel like Oda was just writing up to the point of deciding who the four emperors, right? And you believe he still picks hair Shanks because he believes, even though he lost his arm, it still makes logical sense.
yeah,
Is what you're saying?
yeah, because originally the story was like a one shot, and it was supposed to be about a kid who wanted to be Pirate King fighting the four emperors.
Okay.
Originally, that was the storyline. So that's why I like to believe that everything was still planned out because he mentions in an SBS, which is like their article system or like how they interview him,
Okay.
how um Wano was planned out from the beginning. And if you look at
Wow.
the anime, it's not until like episode 800. You
Yeah.
know? So, but you could see it a lot in the arc. Like, Oda was very excited to write that arc, and he writes a bunch of things that like some similar
I
connections and
did
such.
like that arc a lot, and it was exciting. I think One Piece is good. That's why I'm still saying it's an 8 out of 10. I think there's weaker sections of the story, and there's a few design where repetitiveness for me, where a lot of the structure does feel very repetitive because
Oh yeah, for sure.
this is a spoiler, but also not a spoiler. Guys, you're listening to a podcast talking about One Piece. I'm just saying. So, right, they're going from one island to the next, and then they're defeating who's ever in charge of that island as a way to rescue them, which is bringing us to another topic.
Mhm.
How do the people interpret the pirates in this case? And I think Oda wants to intentionally show that anarchy is not all bad because the pirates are anarchy. The world
Mhm.
government is structure, right?
Yeah.
And I think Oda's goal in the One Piece or writing One Piece, not the One Piece, is that anarchy, there's pros and cons of anarchy. And just because there is structure from the world government or from the Marines or from the police, right? It doesn't mean that the people are happy or are satisfied from that structure.
Dude, it like a good example of that is if you're a civilian from like the East Blue where the story first started, you are probably hearing the news and you're like, these guys are wanted criminals. I hope I never run into them, right?
Yeah.
When you compare it to someone who maybe lives in Sabadie, um, like the Celestial Dragons come in here and there, they glance at
Yeah.
you, they're like, you're my slave now. And they're like, what? And the concept is so bizarre. And then they're like, well, the government will protect me, right? And boom, you're forgotten. You are nobody. You are
Yeah.
just, you're a slave now, right?
Yeah.
To live in that mindset in Sabbaty, to be like, dude, please don't look at me. Please, like, I'm
Yeah.
trying my best not to do anything wrong, but please keep getting those pirates. And it's
Yeah.
just like the every
Dude,
civilian like just
that
having the different
bonus
playstyle.
episode. Yeah, yeah. You're literally defining the bonus episode, basically.
The which one, sorry?
The the bonus episode, the one with the little girl that views Nami as her favorite
Oh
pirate.
yes, yeah, and dude, and she loves her. She loves
Yeah.
her. Fan letter is what we're talking about. In fan
Yes.
letter,
Yes.
she's the
Yes.
biggest fangirl. She's like, I want to grow up and be like Nami. She dresses like Nami. She has a letter, and she's like, dude, you're so cool. And at the end of the
Yeah.
episode, it's okay, like that. Her letter doesn't go through. Like she's okay with it because she at least got to see Nami
Yeah.
take a voyage for her journey, and like you see it throughout everyone else in the episode as well. By the way, there's some people, even the Marines, who are like, Luffy, like what you did for your brother, I wish I could do
Yeah.
for my brother, etc., etc. And
Oh man, dude.
it's a
Like
crazy, it's
just
crazy.
I guess because right. I would say that episode's a 10 out of 10, but you do have to watch a lot of
Yeah.
One Piece to be able to feel invested, right? The beginning of that episode was just so satisfying because I think the idea of how Oda wants to write One Piece or the main cast, right, is that they are free, right? The idea of becoming a pirate is that you are free from structure. You're able to do whatever you want. Usually you hear that a lot from Luffy. It's like, I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
But Luffy, it's gonna help us all. I don't care. Like, I'm good. No, like it's fine. We can just go this way. It's fine. I don't care.
It isn't until his friend feeds them where he's like, "Well, any friend of mine is a friend of mine, and any enemy is an enemy. Like I gotta go kill this guy now.
Yeah,
Where's Dofi?"
yeah, pretty much, bro. He that's the bar, right?
Yeah, it's just
Friendship starts with food.
that's why you see a lot of jokes about it. But it goes back to what you're saying, like something that you don't like about One Piece is that it's the repetitive structure because it
Yeah.
really is. We go into this new island. Everyone was like, "Who are these guys?" One person is like, "Hey, have some food. You must be hungry, visitors." And then Luffy's just like, "For me?"
And then they find out fascism is rolling over the
Yeah.
I guess I gotta go get rid of fascism now.
They even joke about it. They even joke about it because I forget which arc it was, but they're trying to tell him like, dude, don't worry, like that guy's really evil and really powerful. And I think Nami's like, when Luffy
It's
has
always
his mind
Nami. Yeah,
set on
it's always
something,
Nami.
he
Yeah.
has his mind set on it, all right? You sit back and watch this. Like if everyone's not just gonna get jumped in the next few episodes because of
Yeah.
the troubling journey, dude.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
How was it? The one with the gladiator arc?
Oh yeah.
The
Uh,
flamingo, right? The Doflamingo arc.
yeah.
That one was exciting. I mean, there was so many stakes. I really enjoy how much Oda incorporates so many cast members into such a long story. And I think Hunter x Hunter is even better than this, which is I think that's why Hunter x Hunter is like excelled so much,
There's a
right?
lot of good characters in that show.
But
Yeah.
in One Piece, I think the Doflamingo arc was probably the closest to the Hunter x Hunter Ant arc, where the invasion of the Ant kingdom or whatever it was. That is very similar to the Doflamingo arc, where I felt like a lot of cast members were incorporated to act as quickly or like in that moment, and it was really, really exciting for me. The Doflamingo arc was great. That one is probably one of my favorite ones for sure.
Yeah. The like it's crazy how much the arc ties it up and then even it unironically, visibly starts closing the arc before your eyes. Here's the bounty, here's the timer. Let's get this shit on the
Yeah, yeah,
road.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
exactly.
And
Here's
like
the new bounty for, and everybody loves that though. Everybody loves the. It's weird how the conclusion is written into the bounty system, where they have now defeated someone, and now this is their new bounty, and it all is concluded so that there's no plot holes. I think that's why they do it. There's no plot holes, by the way, guys. This is the bounty system. What happens to everybody else? This is what they're gonna do. This is how it's all ending, and then we're gonna move on.
yeah.
And that's still present because characters don't stop existing, and I think Oda is good at that.
Mhm.
Naturally, you really just want to be wary of plot holes because you're writing such a long story. And I think someone mentioned that Oda himself reads the wiki
Mhm.
and looks up
Oh
information
yeah, I've
because
heard that.
it's
Yeah.
such a long story that is constantly being written that I'm sure he has to look it up and be like, oh shit. Oh yeah, that happened. Oh, true. I wrote that in.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because a lot of people will talk about how a lot of arcs are connected to each other, or like,
Yeah.
he's been planning it since then. One arc that hasn't shown any support, or like people are like, why did that happen? Is Long Ring Island, the one with the Foxy Pirates, where
Okay.
they play they play games to like win crewmates over, and it ends with like Luffy and Foxy boxing. A lot of people question that arc, and they're like, what was the point? Because we haven't seen what were they called?
Oh, it was
Davy back?
Afro Luffy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Afro Luffy, right? Okay.
And we don't know. We've never seen a mention of the Davy back games where you can crew like challenge another captain to
Yeah.
win their crew. We haven't seen Foxy, and we didn't really see the crew grow in one aspect. Like for example, in every other arc, maybe it's Usopp who gets an upgrade or Nami who gets an upgrade. Like at least someone
Yeah.
like is improving, right?
Yeah.
That arc is the only one where you would maybe argue like what really happened, and a lot of people would justify it by saying like maybe they introduced it because when Luffy meets Shanks, they're not gonna fight. They'll have a Davy
Mhm.
back fight, where they just have like fun
Oh,
games
like
and
you
such.
think? the whole purpose of that one story is just to say, hey, this is a thing in the universe. This is a thing that could actually be stated by whatever captain whenever they.
Yeah, right. And so, like, with that in mind, is that the reason? Like, because up to this
Yeah,
day, like every arc you can pinpoint to that was important because of this. Long
yeah.
Rain Island is the only one where I'm like, it was cool, it was fun, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot lower for a lot of people.
Because you've rewatched it so many
Yeah.
times that that's the reason that it's stuck in your head. You're thinking like, what? There's a theory. There's something
Yeah,
going on
like
here.
like for reference, like as a quick rundown, like you go to Barati, we're going to the ship because we need to eat, right? We get Sanji,
Yeah.
yippee. Zoro sees the whole thing with Arlong. I mean with Arlong, with Mihawk, and it's like I'm gonna become the world's greatest swordsman. Improvement, growth, and everything, right?
Yeah.
You go to Arlong Park, it follows Drum Island, Alabasta, Skypiea, then you pause at Long Ring Island because Long Ring Island is where you're kind of like, did anything really happen? you
Okay.
know and that's just one of the aspects I think is the only thing I really wish that like
It's haunting you, bro. It's so obvious.
that
It's haunting
it
you
really
every
is
day.
though. I just wonder, like, it'd be cool, like, again, like I mentioned earlier, it'd be cool if it was called back or something, right? Or maybe if it was
Okay.
referenced or something. Just because I don't believe the it was created so that way we could see Luffy and Shanks do it 1,000 chapters later kind of aspect. Unless,
Anything is possible.
yeah, I mean, unless maybe he didn't plan it for them to meet that long, but I think he did.
It's funny that 5 years ago, I remember reading an article saying that One Piece ending has already been thought out. And now we're still 5 years later and we're not even close to done.
Dude, since 2017, I believe, I might be wrong with these numbers, so bear with me. Since
Okay.
2017, I believe Oda made a statement saying that One Piece will be ending soon, right? In 2020, Oda made a statement saying 5 more years. 5 more years and that's it. In
Yeah.
2023, Oda made a release statement when Wano finished saying the final saga has now begun. And for reference, I believe his sagas is what he means is East Blue is a saga,
Yeah.
Alabasta to Marineford is a
Yes.
saga,
Yes.
and
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So he's saying this is the last saga. I think people joked about it because his exact comment was like, "You are like get ready to read One Piece," as opposed to like, "What were we reading before?" You know.
Yeah.
So a lot of people mentioned that, and it's an interesting
Do
concept
you
because
think it's bait? Do you think the writer's a marketing genius?
I will. Okay, first of all, marketing wise, yes, a million times yes, because like as a One Piece fan, you're like, no, I've been watching this forever." You know what I mean?
I don't want.
Uh,
I don't want it to stop.
However, when you watch or read the recent arcs that have been happening in the last two arcs, you question this has to be the end soon,
Uh huh.
right? Because the amount of stuff we're seeing and the stuff that are getting revealed. Fun fact: One Piece's silhouette piece. People would joke about it, right? They would always say silhouette piece because you would always be like, "Oh, that man," or "That person's dangerous," and you would see a silhouette
Okay.
and you wouldn't know who they are. We are almost
Oh,
out of
true, true.
silhouettes.
They have introduced a lot of characters that would be quote unquote we're in the end game now,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's very Avengers like thinking of it as that concept. Here
Hmm.
is the final villain, Thanos.
Yeah.
I think he shows up to in front of Luffy and Thanos is like, puny human.
The only silhouette that hasn't been shown is what think is the final villain of One Piece.
I thought they had already been introduced. Anyways, no spoilers. We can't talk about it.
They have.
We can't talk about the final villain. That's too
All
much
right, all right,
spoilers.
all right, all right, all
If
right.
you've got into episode 800, congratulations, but we're not gonna spoil past that.
If you can go to
Anyways,
episode 800 of One Piece, you can go to 800 episode of Idol's podcast. Yep, yep.
yo, true. Do you have any final comments on One Piece before we call it a day, Hypey?
I will just say It's great. The reason I think it's 10 out of 10 is because of how much you could think about it, and even when you're caught up, you just get to think about what's going to happen in the future. I'm so sad it's going to finish soon. In 20 years, I'll be so devastated. But that's where I'm at.
20 years later, he's still writing One Piece.
Yeah, if we're lucky.
Dude,
He might keep
you're
going
crazy.
past
Why do you
25
want it to
years.
happen?
No, no, no. I'm saying if we're lucky, implying that he's gonna keep going. Like 25 years, he's gonna be like next year for sure, guys.
When I think we're more likely to get a One Piece 2 or something that, you know, how it went from Naruto to Boruto.
Hmm.
That's more likely to happen in my eyes than we are to get a One Piece ending and then like it stops. How old is Oda? Does anybody know?
He is 52.
Oh, like he can literally spend another 20 years or 30 years writing like One Piece 2.
He started One Piece when he was in his young 20s, I believe.
I wonder if he'd be willing. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
can train someone into like the same story structure, and that he said right that he's trained
yeah.
other people in case something were to happen to him.
Dude. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He's also mentioned that he's shared the ending with a couple of writers just in case like something happens. Oh, just like you mentioned,
Yeah,
sorry. Um, but it's crazy because those people, anytime they're asked about it, they're just like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Yeah. Uh,
they're fans too. Yeah, they're big fans.
yeah. The writers, dude. Imagine like the writers helping him. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring out a crazy fact. I I think Oda's only taken it's either 4 or 5 breaks total since the beginning of One Piece. One
Wow.
one was a month after the time skip in the middle. Uh,
Okay.
the second one was up somewhere in Wano. The third one was he was sick in Wano, and then the fourth one was I think in Egghead. But those are the only times he's taken a break, either a month or less. And those breaks,
Yeah.
sometimes they were like, oh, for 3 weeks or like, oh, a month, right? I'm not counting the break weeks because that's just a common thing that happens, or like, Golden Week and such. But yeah, it's essentially it's like 4 week breaks that he's taken. So it's very
Yeah.
insane. I'm sure when he's done, he might feel like empty for a bit, but at the same time, you gotta feel great about like, dude.
He's gotta let go, man.
Yeah, I
We
don't
gotta be
wake
honest
up. I don't wake up
here.
and write.
He's gotta let go.
You can always write something else though. And as a writer, I'm sure that you've had so many ideas
One Piece
about a lot
2.
of things. Yeah. Well, okay, if you finish One Piece just so you're like, I can finally write more things that I've wanted to write, and then you wrote One Piece 2, or you write Two Piece, I'd be like, okay, okay. You know what? I was down
It's
with the
gonna
first
happen.
one. If I'm down with the first one, that's cool for me, but I'm just saying, like, for you,
Yeah,
I
what
don't
if
know,
he calls it Two Piece, instead of and then there is like another treasure or something like that, and he writes 90.
If we did ever get something else, I would have loved to see, like, maybe a prequel or something from the Marines' perspective. Because not all Marines are bad. Kind of similar
That's
to how not
yeah,
all pirates
yeah,
are
yeah.
bad.
Not all pirates are good because of how the story's been written.
Yeah,
Most pirates are good,
yeah, yeah,
but not all pirates are good, right?
yeah. So like something like
Same
that kind of
thing like with
perspective.
Blackbeard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he killed his
or
crewmate,
or
didn't he?
or like Kid. You know who Kid is, right? Kid is the definition of evil
Yeah.
just for fun. He literally like well look, he's just
Spoilers.
evil.
You
No,
can't do it. You
it's not
can't do it.
spoilers.
You
It's
can't
not
do it.
spoilers. I'm talking about pre stuff. I'm talking about pre stuff. It's not spoilers.
You can't do it,
What was
bro.
your rule? You said 6 months if you don't want to get spoiled on
Every
something. You said that on the
yeah.
other episode. Clip that. Clip that.
All
Anyways,
right. We're gonna say, so that's it. Guys, we are uploading on Spotify and YouTube. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to like. If you got to the secret word is
pudding because of the character.
pudding, make sure to type pudding and say what your favorite flavor is. That way we know you watched till the very end. I appreciate you guys.
All right.
Anything else, Hype?
That's it from us, guys. Thanks for watching as always. We'll see you in the next one.